welcome fellow members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Well, the lovely people at War Cradle Studios have sent me some more Dystopian Wars stuff, and I'm going to show it to you here. We've got the Borodino Battlefleet set. Now, these ships are in the starter set, so this is more of the ones I've showed you before, but I'll show you how they come in this set. So this allows you to expand your Russian Commonwealth forces, and we've got the beautiful Borodino battleship here. It'll be fantastic to have two of these on the high seas when I'm playing, which is great. The Kutsov class cruiser, and this can be built in one of several configurations. And the Rurik class frigate, which are the little guys. So I'll show you that in a second. The other one we've got is brand new. It's the Mozhayski. I hope I'm pronouncing that very well, but my Russian is pretty rusty. I've got to tell you, Mozhayski Battlefleet set. And this one is very exciting because we've got here a carrier. I've never seen a carrier before. And aircraft. Yay! Getting some aircraft into the game. Wonderful stuff. These ones are Stoletov Ekranoplans. Oh dear, my Russian not good. But we've got two of those, that's great. There's an SRS token, which are fantastic to add to those, which is great. And over here we've got the cruisers. There's two cruisers, and they can be built in three different ways as well. A Katanga, Morosco, or Pravda class ship. So let's start with Borodino Battlefleet set, see what you get inside. Now, I know you haven't seen a battle report from me yet. It is coming. I am going to do one. I wanted to do one when my friend Will was over here, but we played so many games we got exhausted, and I left Dystopian Wars a little bit too late, and by that time our brains were leaking out our ears, and we played so many. So I am going to be playing one with Dylan, and it's coming soon, because I want to show off this game, how it actually plays. It looks beautiful. I've built some special little icebergs. Actually, let me show you those. Hold on. Here we go. Now, you get some iceberg counters in the starter set for Dystopian Wars, but I really wanted to make some 3D ones. So these match the sizes of the counters in the game. There's some tiny ones here because one of the ships actually creates icebergs, which is fun. So these were very easy to make. It's some high density foam, and I just chopped out some chunks, and it's a mixture of just cutting off pieces. And also another way to get that sort of ragged look is to cut into it a little bit and then pull off a piece. And it'll pull off a chunk and give you a little bit of texture. So you can see, particularly for this one, I just pulled it off and it looks like the ice has kind of crumbled there. In other places, the cut is a bit cleaner. So the first thing I did is get some plastic card, thin plastic card here, and I cut that to the size of the original counters. And then I stuck on bits of the foam and cut them to size as well. And as I said, just cut in, made chunks and pulled chunks out of them to make them look like icebergs. Then I coated the whole thing in PVA glue to seal the foam. Then I just mixed up some turquoise colours here, just on my palette, and painted that on and blended it up to white. It's a very rough, easy blend. You do it while it's wet and on the actual surface, and you just blend it up. And you could dry brush these, but I think the actual painterly effect looks a bit more ice-like. If you dry brush them, you get a sort of ragged texture, which I don't think looks quite like an iceberg. So there you have it, pretty easy to make. And of course the final touch was just to paint on some gloss varnish to give them a glossy, icy look. So looking forward to playing the game with these on the board. I think it'll look pretty spectacular, and I just love the idea of these steampunk ships sailing amongst these icebergs in the Arctic seas. Great stuff. Back to the Borodino Battlefleet set. Of course, here's our Borodino. It's a resin ship. Let's open this up. And what a stunning piece of resin it is. Now, I've already shown you how to build this. If you look at my video on the starter set, it tells you how to put this together. And in fact, I've got a painting tutorial as well, so you can go and check that out to see how I painted this up. But what a beautiful ship it is. And oh, I'm so excited I'm going to have two. It's going to look fantastic. So you've got that, and then you've got your sprues for making your other ships. Again, I've already done tutorials on these ones, so you can go and check them out for building and painting tutorials. The only difference here, as I said, is that you can decide to build the cruisers in three different ways. It just depends what guns you put on them. Of course, I've magnetized my guns, so you can change that. And also you could decide to have a longer stern to the ship if you wanted to go with that particular version. The one with the longer stern is the Norilsk class cruiser, and the other ones are the Oleg and the Cineas class. So that's what you get in that set. Now let's have a look at these brand new ones, the Mozhayski. Please, if you're Russian, correct me, so I know how to say these things properly, or I should Google them. This Battlefleet set, as I said, planes and a carrier. Let's look inside. Now, of course, I have played Dystopian Wars. I have been building and painting, but I've played as well, and I really enjoyed the game. It was fun. Some interesting things. It's the kind of game you play it once and you go, oh, this is interesting, and then you play it more and you get to know it. As you get to know the forces and how it plays, you'll play very differently. At first, I thought, oh, well, these ships that I'm playing with are quite small. They're probably not very powerful, and my battle cruiser is probably much more powerful. Actually, I was wrong there. The smallest ships were quite strong on their own, and the big ships weren't as strong because they're sort of, mobile platforms. And apparently that's quite accurate to normal naval stuff. So I had to change my perceptions there. And once we did that on our second game, completely different game. It's not about just sort of charging in and killing things. There's maneuvering around your terrain, your islands or icebergs, getting into the right position, making sure you're using the right ships for the right job. Really interesting stuff, and you can get deeply involved in it. So we've got a heap of SRS tokens here. Now, I'm sort of surprised to see this because I wasn't expecting to get so many in the set. So SRS tokens are short-range squadrons, and the ingenious thing about these is that these can be stacked. You only usually have one friendly stack and one enemy stack by each ship if they're used by any of the ships in the fleet. And you put the token on the top, which I'll show you in a moment, which delineates which type it is. And then you can have several of them by just stacking up these counters. And then you can say, okay, well, I've got 1, 2, 3 SRS tokens of that type next to the ship. Bang. Which is a nice way of saving on table space. So here I've been given all these extra things. So I've got the actual SRS tokens on the top, but now I've got lots and lots of these so I can stack them up if necessary. So that's very generous. Here's our main ship, the Mozhayski class fleet carrier. Oh, look at this. Again, just lovely detail in these resin models. They're really nice. Looks like we've got a big piece that goes on here. Where's the front of it? Must be some plastic components to this as well. Okay, that's roughly it, but it looks like you can put weapons on these spots. So I'll be magnetising those. I try to magnetise all the small areas where you put small rotating weapons, because not only is it good for interchanging weapons, but when you're playing, it's really nice to rotate the little turrets and point them at your enemy. So you can see we've got a little SRS token, as in, it's basically another term for planes and things like that. So you've got little planes coming here off the carrier. Very nice. That's going to look great. Look at the front of that under there, just cutting through the waves. Then we've also got 2 sprues. You can see there are 4 of these SRS tokens here. Now, of course, first when I painted my ones from the starter set, for some strange reason I assumed that they were sitting on the waves, but of course they're supposed to be flying above the waves, so I painted them as though they were actually cutting through the waves and had a little wake. So I'll have to change that one day because that's wrong. So great to see you get 4 of those. So obviously the carrier has a lot of SRS token capability. So we can build another small carrier, which is the Pravda class ship, I believe. And here are the plain pieces here. Smaller ships. There we go. So 2 sprues, they look identical. So let's have a look at how to put these ships together, shall we? So here's the Mozhayski, and as you can see, super simple build. This bit just pops in on the top, like so, and then we've got these little rocket batteries going here. So you really don't even need to magnetise these. Actually, you definitely don't need to magnetise them. They're only small, and they just pop in there. So again, as I was saying, you'd think, oh, well, this is a big ship, so it'd be really powerful. I'll send it in right at the front. Well, you don't want to do that because this sends off SRS tokens, and these rocket batteries are aerial rocket batteries, so they're particularly effective against aerial forces. but it doesn't have any other huge weapons or anything because it's a carrier. So there you have it, and a beautiful looking ship. Absolutely love the idea of these planes flying off here, and easy build. A wonderful addition to the Commonwealth fleet. So here are all our pieces for the Ekranoplan, and I should say this is actually a skimmer. It doesn't fly, it's a skimmer. So we've got two body pieces like this. Got our plastic glue. Of course, I've already cleaned up these pieces, scraped any mold lines off them with a scalpel. You know, you just sort of, I've showed you this many times before, but just scrape off any mold lines that are there. Attach these two bits together. There's the body of our skimmer. Then we attach the back fin, or whatever the name is of this particular back wing, I should say, rather than fin. That goes on like so. There's a middle piece with a whole lot of bombs attached, and that goes at the front. There we go, just sitting like that. While we're up the front, there's a little shield that gets attached to the front. It's a tiny piece, so don't lose it. Like that. There we go. Then of course we've got the wings. They attach like this. Very snug fit. Oh, looking good. And finally there are some rocket batteries on the top. And we've got 3 of those, so let's do them all at once. It's one of these ones, which is the same one we saw on the carrier. And these little bomb ones. And these go so they're sitting up at an angle like this. And there we have it, a beautiful little plain skimmer thing with lots of rocket batteries on it. That's really going to shake things up when it comes onto the battlefield. We've got 2 of those. So next I'm building up a cruiser. Now, as always with these kits, you get these agonizing decisions about how you're going to build your pieces that you get on your sprue, because you do get options. In this case, we've got 2 different types of cruisers, the Mozhayski and the Katanga. And they're pretty similar, except I think the Katanga for me is a no-brainer because it's got a big drill on the front. And, you know, I've got to have that drill. I'm sorry. So if you're a very competitive player, of course, you'll be looking into the different lists and seeing what the different types of or classes of ships do and building your army lists and everything. But really, I just go with the rule of cool. Something that looks cool to me, I want to build it. And if it's got a big drill on the front, well, I can't resist. So that's the one I'm going for. Of course, the other option is to build a Pravda support carrier, which is the other carrier. Here's the carrier base of that one. And you can build that one, and that's probably if you're going all in on using SRS tokens as a bit of a strategy, which is certainly something you can do, but I think I'm going to go for the big drill. But some wide options there, 2 of one type, and then instead of that you could go for the carrier. So as I said, I'm going for the Katanga. Let me show you how to build it. We've got the base hull here, and then we want to glue these pieces along the edge carefully. So that is going to go right up the front, and there are little guides there so it fits in nicely. So I can glue along there and attach that in. Oh, let's do the other front piece as well. This is our drill. Look at that. As always, I'm rushing a little bit here because I want to show you how it all goes together, but you might want to wait till every piece is dry before you move on to the next bit, so nothing falls apart. Then we've got the central pieces on the side that go like that. Really lovely high quality plastics here. There's very little cleanup to do and they fit together beautifully. And then the stern pieces. Make sure that's all snug and fitting together like it should. Then we've got a simple 2-part tower piece. Now this is the cryo generator I should say. And this can create little icebergs to get in the way of your enemy and give yourself some cover. So this will be very handy for making those little icebergs that I made earlier. That sits like so. Then there's a small front piece, and that sits in the front of the tower. And finally we've got an aerial battery like that. And if you weren't building the drill, you put that little piece on the front, but of course I've got a big drill there. And then you can put on your weapons, and of course this could be a heavy gun battery, a tri-rail gun, or a rocket battery. You can take your pick. I'm going to magnetize them, so I'll make those choices later. I'll magnetize them as I did in my starter set tutorial, and that'll be my Katanga Cryo Assault Cruiser done. Well folks, that's what you get in the Mozhayski Battlefleet set, and as you can see, it looks pretty spectacular when it's all made up. I've got all those other figures from the Borodino Battlefleet set, which will be expanding my forces that I already have from the starter set. And I've got quite an impressive fleet here of Commonwealth ships. So as I said, there'll be a battle report coming soon, and stay tuned for more of these unboxings and buildings of Dystopian Wars, because I'm continuing to support the game and playing it. It's a lot of fun, and Warcradle have been fantastic in supplying these ships for me so I can show them to you. That's the Esoteric Order of Gamers, orderofgamers.com. Go to the website. There's about 375 at last count, rules, summaries and references for you to download and use. And of course, hundreds of videos and lots of other stuff too. Also on my Patreon channel, which is at patreon.com/esotericorder, there have been some changes. So there's a new Discord server for Patreon supporters, just for them. There's also a series of exclusive videos just for Patreon supporters, because I appreciate their support so much. So if you join up at any level, you can have access to those extra goodies. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.